Hello, and welcome to day 4. Today we're going to talk about why your brain is so good at worrying, ruminating, stressing out about little problems, and generally keeping you on edge at all times. The brain doesn't do this to torment you, it does this to keep you alive. Because as a species, we may have evolved off of the Serengeti into skyscrapers, but our brain is a little slow to catch up. The brain hasn't changed that much in the last 10,000 years, even though the world around us has changed. So the brain runs off of a scarcity principle, which basically thinks that everything's going to run out at any time, so you got to get the food while you have it. So we have ever-expanding waistlines in the US and around the world, because our brains still think that we have to get the next meal as quickly as possible. And another example of this, that our brains are still a little slow to catch up, is our brains have what researchers call abundance denial. And what that means is exactly what it sounds like, is that you don't realize, or your brain won't let you realize, that you have an abundance, that you have enough. Because back in the day, if you found a nice berry bush, eventually that berry bush would run out of berries. Or if you killed a mastodon, there was no refrigerator to kind of keep it, safe and stored. So you always had to be on the lookout for the next thing, always thinking, I never have enough. Life's not good enough, I need to make it better. So this is one reason why millionaires want to be billionaires, billionaires want to be multi-billionaires, because the brain never feels satiated. It always has a low-level amount of tension that wants you to keep moving to keep you alive. This is one reason why we worry all the time, because the brain loves to have a cause, a problem to think about. And so if you're kind of having a good life, life's going pretty well, it will find the little thing that's not going well in order to keep you kind of on edge, worrying. And the brain does this not because it's a villain, but because it's what it's trained to do. So you have to give your brain some task outside of worrying, because most worries don't come true. Research shows that 9 out of 10 worries don't actually happen, and the one that does come true isn't as bad as you'd think, because the brain adapts and becomes, okay with whatever the situation is. But there is a part of your brain called the default mode network that runs right down the middle of your brain. And this default mode network is basically put there to keep you kind of self-centered, always thinking about yourself, always ruminating, always kind of thinking about the next worry. So you have to give your brain a job, a task, and that accesses another part of your brain called the task approach network. And when this part of your brain is engaged, you're very focused, you're very feeling connected to the world around you. So when you focus on your breath, focus on a nice visual scene, go outdoors, this task approach network comes online. But as Americans, we spend a lot of time in that default mode network, and that default mode network runs right down the middle of your brain. So when you're worrying about yourself, your brain is literally self-centered. So you have to move away from yourself more into the outer world by volunteering, playing on a team, having a good job that you like. Any of these things will help your brain get out of the I network and more into the we network, which makes for a happier brain. Because when your brain's on autopilot, when it's in the default mode network, it's kind of unhappy. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So you got to give it a task, and that means kind of staying in the present moment, using mindfulness and meditation exercises that you learn during this month to keep yourself on task. It's really the whole goal of this project, is to move away from automatic pilot and more into manual control. So for today's self-reflection, we're going to look at some of the worries you have in your life and kind of see how a little absurd they are and realize that most of them really won't come true. So you can kind of talk yourself off the ledge a little bit. That's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.